Hi, everyone. This is a series on limiting beliefs I see in my work as a coach. So, the topic for today is relationships, specifically romantic monogamous relationships. And what I'm going to be doing is just trying to give you observations that I've seen. What I'm going to be giving you is just stories and observations of themes that I've seen that are working against people having things go well, in this case, in relationships. Now, specifically, I work with monogamous couples, so I know there are other setups that people have for relationships, but these are specifically for monogamy. They may apply to other situations, but what I'm talking about is specifically that. There are things that cross over even into business relationships and whatnot. But anyways, let me get started. One of the most limiting beliefs I see is that men are like this and women are like that. Now, I can go back as far as when I was much younger and remembering people saying men are from Mars and women are from Venus. And if you know anything about those gods, Mars is the god of war and Venus is the god of love. And yes, we have planets named for them. But that was the basic idea, that men are wired to be a certain way and women are wired to be a different way. The challenge with that is very typically when I talk to people, when I ask guys if they are married to a woman who's like other women, their answer immediately is no, because their wife is so different and unique. And they actually get a little romantic about the things that they loved about her that are different. And when I speak to women, I also get a similar thing. Well, no, he does do things that a lot of guys don't do. So that complaint as the top level thing that all women are like this and all men are like that, statistically, yes, it's true. And there are certainly things, if we want to talk about systems, that need to be repaired and worked on. But in a one-on-one relationship, if you go in there thinking that there is no way that my partner can change because of their gender, you're probably not listening when you're having conversations, and you might not even know what they want. A lot of people that I talk to don't know what their partner wants, or worse yet, they do know and they're not doing it, not because it's hard or impossible for them, but because they've got it in their head that it's never going to work anyways. Another one that I hear a lot is that men are not useful unless they're told exactly what to do and their hands are held to do things. Now, if this is true, my argument would be that you're probably with an immature person. Now, that might be appropriate at certain ages. I am 52 and some of my clients are younger, some of them are older. There are things that are appropriate for a person who's in their 20s. They're just learning. A lot of them just left their parents' home. And there are things that are appropriate for people in their 30s because they've never been 30 before, right? They haven't been at that stage of life. They haven't had kids who are at that stage of life. There's a lot of things to learn. And I think if we get back into the system thing, a lot of guys traditionally are raised to do certain tasks. And frankly, up until very recently, guys were raised that as long as they were making money, everything was okay. Now, the idea behind it was that the guy was going to make enough money to take care of the family. And frankly, that very rarely happens now. In fact, a lot of women out-earn their husbands. So we need to get rid of that idea. But what you're dealing with is if a guy was raised in a situation where all he believed he needed to do was make money, or all that he saw his father do was make money, then his expectations for the relationship aren't going to match what's actually required, and it's going to be work to move along. It's his work. His wife or partner should not do that work. But signing up to be with someone and seeing who they are means that you need to understand that they are going to need to change over time, and patience will be required. I'm going to stick to men for a second. Men do not express their feelings well. I would have to argue that statistically, this is true. Now, that said, if you're with a man who doesn't express his feelings well, you probably chose that man who doesn't express his feelings well. And again, there's time that's required and a space that needs to be required for that man to be able to express his feelings well. He might have one friend. A lot of guys might have one friend who they can express their feelings to and actually talk about what is going on internally. So as much as I believe it's true, and again, there's a timeline for this, the thing that I'll say is a lot of guys need the space. They need the space to be able to talk about their feelings. They need to be able to know that they're not going to be judged or brushed off or discouraged about talking about their feelings, which is a common thing that for some guys, they start talking about their feelings, and what they run into is someone who doesn't want to listen. And I'm talking about their partner, someone who doesn't want to listen, or someone who acts like a bully when they do talk about their feelings. The last one's actually pretty hurtful, which I hear sometimes in front of the husband, that having the husband is like having another child. If that is true, you really do need to get with someone to help, because this is an extremely immature person. And even a child is supposed to progress as they move through life and get into a better place as far as taking care of themselves and being the individual who is actually able to contribute to community, which requires more than just taking care of yourself. If you are to contribute to community, necessarily it means not just taking care of yourself, it means being able to pitch in for tasks that are required for the community. Now, let me flip to the ladies. The common beliefs about women that I hear a lot are that, oh, women are too emotional. They can't really process things the way that guys do. Guys, we're pretty emotional. I know this because I'm a guy. And when we're watching our favorite team in the finals, it's the easiest example I can give you. It's just proof that we're pretty emotional. Don't let your favorite team lose in the finals and then you be all smiley and happy the next day. It's not something that happens. Your favorite show gets canceled. Guys are emotional too. This is the short version of this. In fact, the challenge for guys, I would say, is that we are limited in what emotions we are allowed to express, which goes back to men not expressing their emotions well. So often the only emotions that we feel allowed to express are our anger or our okayness. A lot of guys really feel like they just have a spectrum of okayness, like I'm just okay or I'm really, really, really okay. And that's it. So they never really express extreme happiness. They take stoicism to a next level, like everything is flat. And yes, women socially are allowed to express all the emotions they have. And if anything, if you're in a partnership with a woman, it's probably a benefit that one of you is more advanced in expressing their emotions. It doesn't mean that women are more emotional. I would argue that we probably need to look at it as she is more advanced at expressing her feelings than me if she's more emotional than you. Now, if your wife is violent with her emotions, or she is erratic and does irresponsible things and then blames it on her emotions, we're back to maturity again, and that's something that needs to be worked on. That person needs to work on why they feel like they are allowed to be a certain way just because they're having emotions. And I would agree with you on that. Another one is women do not say what they want, say what they really want, and that they don't even know what their wives want. And a lot of the time I sit down with a couple and the guy may have said that to me in private, because usually I'll meet with each partner separately before we start. But sometimes they say it in front of their wife, and then there's extreme frustration because the thing that a lot of wives have said out loud is that they need help. They need the man to step up and do more than they are doing with the responsibilities in the household. I'm not talking about making money. I'm talking about who does most of the cleaning, cooking, scheduling stuff for the kids, scheduling stuff with the family, remembering families' birthdays, remembering social events that you're going to. If all of that is on your partner, they're exhausted. And that exhaustion plays out in why things aren't going the way that you want them to in the relationship, and their impatience with you and why they're in a certain mood. So I find it hard to believe that a lot of women don't say what they want. In fact, I've seen the opposite, that they've been saying what they want and they haven't been heard. Usually, I try to get couples to deal with a lot of this, to do something called active listening, where they really do realize that the point of the conversation is to make sure you understand the person. The point of the conversation is not to win an argument or convince the other person to do things the right way. The point of the conversation is to understand. The last common thing that I hear is it's never enough and they're not happy. This can go a couple ways. So if it's never enough, if you're doing something and your partner still has to come behind you and do it. Example would be you say, well, I did the laundry this week, but all you did was put the dirty clothes in the washing machine. And when your wife does it, she sorts the clothes, puts them in the washing machine, transfers them to the dryer or hang dries them. Then she takes those clean clothes and puts them away, not just for herself, but for everyone in the family. If you notice the difference between the list of the two tasks, right? If all your processes, you put the stuff in the machine, you didn't do the same thing that she did. And if you didn't do the same thing that she did, yeah, it's not enough. Now, there are some things where we do things a different way. And the job is still completed. And I'm not talking about that. I'm not saying, oh, you have to do things the way that I say you should do it. So for example, if the dude is supposed to make dinner and he doesn't make pasta the same way that you do, but everybody eats it and likes it. Maybe they like yours a little better, but they still eat it and like it. Everybody in the family or whoever's there is fed and everything's okay. Then in that sense, when it's something like that, I would say similarly, they don't have to always do things the way that the other partner does. So a husband doesn't have to do things the same way if the result is the same. Now, no, the first example, the result's not the same. The laundry is not done. And now the partner needs to come behind their husband, the wife needs to come behind their husband and finish doing the laundry because it was never done, right? And that's really not the same thing. But if it's the same thing and it's not done the same way, that's when we need to let go. I think when I was doing my relationship counseling certification, that is over 60% of disagreements in a relationship never resolve. And the resolution is appreciating your partner and understanding that they're going to do things different than you and that that's okay. It's not about getting them to do exactly what you do in the same way. There's a part where you need to be able to take a step back, see what they're doing, and then both sides need to have some gratitude that the thing is done and they're not doing it alone.